A special thank you to each of our subscribers who make this channel possible. Here's today's story. In a significant move that has sparked controversy and debate across the nation, President Donald Trump signed an executive order on March 20th, 2025, initiating the process to dismantle the U.S. Department of Education. This decision fulfills a long-standing campaign promise and has drawn sharp criticism from Democrats and education advocates who argue that it could have devastating consequences for students nationwide. The ceremony, held in the East Room of the White House, featured a semicircle of children who participated in the signing, each holding their own replica of the executive order. As Trump signed the document, the children mimicked his actions, creating a poignant image of the administration's push to eliminate the department. "I will sign an executive order to begin eliminating the Federal Department of Education once and for all," Trump declared, asserting that the move is not only necessary but also widely supported, even by some Democrats. However, the response from Democratic leaders was swift and critical. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer took to social media to denounce the action, stating, "Attempting to dismantle the Department of Education is one of the most destructive and devastating steps Donald Trump has ever taken. This will hurt kids." The executive order instructs Secretary of Education Linda McMahon, a close ally of Trump, to take all necessary steps toward the department's closure, which ultimately requires congressional approval. Established in 1979 under President Jimmy Carter, the Department of Education was created to consolidate various federal education initiatives. Critics of the department have long argued that it undermines state and local control over education. However, the department's role has primarily focused on collecting data, disseminating research, distributing federal aid, and enforcing anti-discrimination measures in education. Trump has repeatedly blamed the Department of Education for the perceived decline in educational achievement in the U.S., despite experts asserting that this claim is misleading. While it is true that American students rank below some countries in international standardized tests, they are not at the bottom of the list. The Program for International Student Assessment, PISA, shows that U.S. students perform at an average level, above countries like Mexico and Brazil, but below top performers like Singapore and Japan. During the signing ceremony, Trump acknowledged that educational performance has lagged, but did not fully address the complexities of the issue. He also tied the department's dismantling to his broader agenda of cutting waste and fraud in the federal government, citing significant reductions in the department's workforce. Trump claimed that half of the department's employees had accepted buyout offers, emphasizing that many were longtime Democrats. Critics, however, argue that these layoffs disproportionately affect nonpartisan civil service members who provide essential stability across administrations. The future of Secretary McMahon remains uncertain as the department faces potential upheaval. Trump reassured her during the ceremony that she would find a new role in his administration, saying, "We're going to find something else for you, Linda." Despite the executive order, Trump cannot unilaterally eliminate the Department of Education. Only Congress has the authority to do so. Some Republican lawmakers, such as Senator Bill Cassidy of Louisiana, have expressed support for Trump's initiative and indicated plans to introduce legislation to facilitate the department's closure. However, experts caution that such legislation is unlikely to garner enough support to overcome the Senate filibuster. Currently, Republicans hold a 53-seat majority in the Senate, which may not be sufficient to push through the necessary votes. As the situation develops, it is anticipated that the issue will ultimately be resolved in the courts, with education advocates preparing to challenge the executive order. Al Jazeera correspondent Shihab Rattansi noted that the Department of Education is viewed as relatively low-hanging fruit for the Trump administration to test the limits of executive power. He warned that critical educational oversight functions could be compromised during the legal battles ahead. Teachers' unions, including the American Federation of Teachers, AFT, are mobilizing for a legal fight against the dismantling of the department. AFT President Randy Weingarten expressed concern for students, stating, "This isn't efficiency, it's evisceration." The executive order does promise to ensure the continued delivery of essential services and programs, but critics remain skeptical about the future of critical initiatives such as the Pell Grant and support for students with disabilities. Trump attempted to alleviate these concerns by assuring that these programs would be preserved and redistributed to other agencies, but he emphasized that states would take over most of the department's functions. As the nation watches closely, the implications of this executive order will unfold, raising questions about the future of education in America and the balance of power between state and federal authorities. That's all for this story. We upload videos every day covering many different subjects, so hit that subscribe button to stay informed. Thanks for watching.